Mass arrests and deportations violate constitutional and human rights, yet many cheer on the injustice. Across the United States, a disturbing trend is unfolding. Innocent people, some lifelong residents, some even U.S. citizens, are being arrested, detained, and in some cases, deported to countries they have never set foot in. The very rights enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, fought for by generations in the name of liberty and justice, are being trampled in the name of political expediency and fear. Yet, rather than outrage, many who claim to revere the Constitution are applauding these violations. Wrongful detentions and deportations. Recent reports have surfaced of individuals with legal status, permanent residents, visa holders, and even natural-born citizens, being detained indefinitely or deported due to bureaucratic errors, racial profiling, or draconian immigration policies. The so-called enhanced enforcement measures have led to fathers and mothers being torn from their children, people with no criminal records being held in detention centers without due process, and citizens being forced to fight in court to prove their own nationality. One of the most egregious cases involves a 24-year-old U.S. citizen of Mexican descent who was wrongfully deported despite producing proof of citizenship. He was sent to a country where he had no family, no connections, and no ability to speak the language. His case is not unique. In another instance, an elderly Filipino grandmother, a legal permanent resident for decades, was detained for weeks without explanation before public outcry forced her release. Constitutional violations in broad daylight. The Fourth Amendment guarantees protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, yet individuals are being rounded up in immigration raids without warrants or probable cause. The Fifth and 14th Amendments ensure due process, but detainees are often denied access to legal counsel and given rushed, rubber-stamped deportation hearings. Even the First Amendment is under attack, as activists and journalists covering these human rights abuses are harassed or threatened with arrest. How is it that a nation that prides itself on being a beacon of freedom allows its government to violate the fundamental rights of its own people? The hypocrisy of so-called constitutional defenders. Perhaps the most disgraceful aspect of this crisis is that many of those who claim to be patriots, self-proclaimed defenders of the U.S. Constitution, are the loudest voices cheering on this injustice. The same people who cry out for freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and religious liberties are disturbingly silent when it comes to the rights of immigrants, people of color, and the marginalized. Worse, some actively celebrate the suffering of those caught in this brutal system. History has shown that when a government begins disregarding the rights of one group, it inevitably expands its overreach to others. Today, it's immigrants and people of color. Tomorrow, it could be anyone deemed un-American by those in power. A call for true justice. Those who genuinely believe in the principles of the Constitution must recognize that these mass arrests and deportations are not just about immigration, they are about the erosion of rights for all. They are about whether the promises of justice, equality, and due process apply to everyone, or only to those who fit a narrow, racially and politically convenient definition of American. The United States was built on the ideals of freedom and justice, but those ideals are meaningless if they are abandoned whenever they become inconvenient.